Hey guys, welcome back to Sandrine's Book Corner. I'm here to do a January wrap up. These are all the books that I read in January. Most of these books are great, some are not that great actually, but I'm gonna tell you what I thought about them and my rating. Also, side note, can we just thank God that January is over because we're getting closer to spring, which means more light. I live in Sweden, so we don't have a lot of light. Like the sun went down today at 4 p.m. So pray for your friends in Sweden because we need some vitamin D in this country. Okay, let's move on to the book. So, I started off the year with this book, My Year of Rest and Relaxation. The main character in this book finds herself in a deep depression. She has lost both her parents and she's an only child, so she's basically alone. She has been through a lot of traumatic events. She also has this toxic boyfriend that treats her like trash. One day she's like, okay, I just want to sleep. I want to wake up and be a functioning human being once all my trauma is healed. And her plan is that she's going to heal within a year. So, how does she do this? She finds a doctor that gives her a bunch of pills, and this doctor is crazy. You're like, is this real? Is she allowed to do this? But the character is also crazy, so they kind of are a match. Another thing that annoyed me about this book was how this character treated her best friend. But she's also very real in her thoughts, which I liked because sometimes when you have these unlikable characters and you don't have any explanation, you're like, why are you this bad? But this character never really learned how to love or show affection through her parents. I kind of gave her a pass, but she was a bad friend, and that was the hardest part about reading this book is how emotionally unavailable she was towards her friend who actually helped her through everything and who actually showed up. Other than that, I do find it amusing to read about women who are not perfect. I feel like there is expectation of women to be, I don't know, nurturing, which in many aspects we are, and that's great. That's a great personality trait. But at the same time, this is a depressed woman with a lot of trauma and with no hope. So why would she be a great friend? I feel like this author did a great job at explaining why she do certain things and why she thinks the way she thinks, but at the same time there were no excuses made for her. She just was the way she was, and that was it. And I like that. I gave this 3.5 stars. It was almost 4 stars, but then the end of this book I was like, I kind of saw the end coming because it's set in 2001. I'm not gonna spoil what happened, obviously, but there is just this major event that happens in New York. Am I spoiling? Sorry. I'm gonna stop talking before I start spoiling because I'm great at spoiling things. So let me zip. After that, I read Before We Say Goodbye. This is the fourth book in the series of Before the Coffee Gets Cold. You see me talk about book number 1 and 2 in my previous video, and I think I did mention the third book in my December wrap up. So check that one up. When I read the third book in this series, I was like, this is so boring. Please say that number 4 is gonna be great because I really wanted to complete the series because I fell in love with the first and second book. But after reading this one, I feel like I'm done. I'm done with this story. I feel like it's the same stories repeating themselves, just with different people. It's kind of one of those books where you can just read just to relax. It doesn't take a lot of brain muscles. So if you want something quite easy, I would suggest that you pick up this one, but I would pick up number 1 and number 2. I feel like I'm done. After this one, I'm done. The message is the same and it's been great, but we're moving on. Oh, and I forgot to say, I gave this 3 stars. And then I read my least favorite book of this month. Ugh, This is Piranesi. It was a book club pick from my book club that I'm in with my friends. They wanted to read this one, and I didn't feel anything. All that I knew was that people seem to love this book. It's a sci fi fantasy. We follow basically this guy who allegedly is called Piranesi, and he's just in this house. We don't know how he had got there. We don't know what he's doing there. We don't know his purpose. It's just kind of like a mysterious fantasy, but at the same time, there's a sci fi aspect to it. As time goes on, he becomes very worried because, guys, let me be honest. I don't care about this book. I'm sorry. I hated this book. I read it because I had to read it and I had to be respectful to my friends who had picked this one up. But if it wasn't for them, I would have DNF'd this book. I would have just put it down after like 100 pages because I did not care about this character. I tried and I tried to really focus, and I did. At some point, I had to actually find the audiobook, which I never listened to books. But this time I was like, I don't think I can manage to sit and read this book. So I finished it through audiobook on Spotify. And I still didn't like it. There's nothing wrong with the language. It's not that hard to read because it's quite like easy language. Like the words are not that hard to follow. But the storyline is just boring. I'm not a fantasy girl. I do like some dystopian novels though. So I was kind of like thinking that this could work for me, but it didn't. But the girls in my book club loved it. Most of them gave it 4 or 5 stars. So it might be me. This might be the book for you, but I don't understand the hype. I don't care about this book at all. But if you do, God bless you and have a great time with this one. Moving on. Oh, and I gave it 2 stars. And I was being generous by that, okay? After that, I read Home, a novella by Toni Morrison. After Piranesi, I felt like I need something to cheer me up, something that is more my style that I know will never disappoint. I had a lot of fun reading this book, but it's not fun at all. The storyline is kind of deep and filled with a lot of grief and sadness. But I had fun reading it because I was traumatized from reading Piranesi. In this book, we follow Frank, an ex veteran who, after the Korean War, returns back to the US. And at this point, when we meet him, he is suffering from severe post traumatic stress. We get to follow him on his journey back home. The question of this book is where is home for Frank? This is such a short read, but it has so many layers. You get to follow Frank before the war, during the war, and after the war. It has all the perspectives that you need to understand where Frank is and why he is the way he is. You get to follow the people closest to him through their eyes and how they view Frank. That was also quite interesting. I love this book. It was so layered, and I feel like Toni Morrison has a way of writing that is quite fast paced, yet it's also very slow. And she kind of jumps in between timelines. In this book, I feel like she didn't do it as much. I have read Sula. Sula is my first Toni Morrison book, and I found Sula to be quite hard to follow in the beginning. I actually had to read it twice in order to understand it fully. But I felt like Home was very easy, yet in a very Toni Morrison way, poetic. If I was reading Toni Morrison for the first time, I would actually start with this one. Mind you, I haven't read a ton of her books. I'm trying to read more classics this year. I do have Beloved here at home. I do want to pick up the Song of Solomon as well at some point. So maybe I shouldn't be giving you advice on where to start, but I do feel like this one was very easy. I gave this 5 stars. I picked up Americanah after Home, and when I tell you, I've been living my life with this book. Like, Okay, the backstory to this book is that I've actually read it before. I think I read it in 2016, but I was way more focused on the racism and the race blog that Ifemelu leads. The main character's name is Ifemelu, by the way. She writes this blog about race in America, and I was drawn to that because that was the time where I was in uni. I had started wearing my natural hair, and I was in a rediscovering my roots phase, and I felt so seen through this time. I was way more focused on Obinze and Ifemelu's love story, which is crazy to me because reading this again now I realize that the whole point of this book is this love story, basically. Okay, I don't know if everybody would agree with me, but for me at this age, I just feel like this is the best love stories that I've ever read about. It's just so beautiful. And Obinze is the love of my life. Honestly, if you don't want him, I can take him. Honestly, because he's just such a kind, sweet soul. And what I like about this book and their love stories that is very much flawed and it's very much real. At some point, I was very mad at Ifemelu for how she treated him, but at the same time, it did make sense. Everything in this book made sense. Another thing that I would say about this book is that it's kind of slow. So in the beginning, I felt like it was a fast paced book. But as the story continued, I realized this is not a fast paced book. And Shimamanda goes into a lot of details, which some people might not like. I enjoyed it because it felt like it was one of those classic reads where you have to slow down, enjoy the process, and every page and every part of this book makes sense to the story. So I did not mind that. I've read some reviews where people gave it 4 stars because they felt like there were too many characters. And I do understand that. But for me, I just felt like this is a part of a bigger picture that just makes the story and the reality of these characters feel more real and alive. So I like that. For those of you who are looking for a romance read for Valentine's Day that is approaching, or February, the month of love, you should pick up this one because you're gonna get the depth that you need, but it's at the same time a love story that will leave you yearning, yearning for love, I guess, if you want that. I don't know if I want that for myself right now, but let's just say that it's inspiring to say the least. Honestly, this is why rereading is the best thing because you get to revisit the version you were when you read it. In my case, I was 21 or 22, I think. And now in my 30s, I have a different perspective. I do find the parts about race very interesting. It's still very much, yeah, we're still living in the same world. Unfortunately, nothing happened in this past 10 years. Okay, I'm not going to say that nothing happened, but it feels like nothing happened when I'm reading this book. But at the same time, I was able to be like, okay, the word, it is what it is. Let me just focus on the human aspect of this book, which is the love stories, the relationships to her family. Also, I had forgotten about Auntie Uju, which is a side character and that I really loved reading about. I feel like she represents a lot of women in the African diaspora. I read a lot of books from different parts of the world. Most of the books that I read are African literature, Caribbean, a lot of UK, Irish authors, and American authors. But African literature will always be that girl. Like, I don't know what can beat this. There's something in the way that African authors write that just hits home for me. And naturally, I'm from Africa, so of course, it sounds so weird to say I'm from Africa. I'm from Rwanda. But yeah, naturally, coming from the continent, I really do relate to the language, the context, the way of storytelling that I feel like is so unique. Nobody does it like this. I obviously, guys, I gave this 5 stars. What else? I mean, there's just I love Chimamanda. I love you so much. Thank you for existing. Guys, so we made it to the end of this video, and that was pretty much it. That's all that I read for January, and I'm quite happy reading wise with what I was able to get in this little brain of mine. Sorry, I have something in my eye right now. Ugh. I'm gonna stop rambling. I feel like I've been yapping a lot today. I'm gonna have to do a lot of editing with this video because there's so much trash talking. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope that I see you next time. As always, if you're able to, please like and comment and subscribe. And I will be here very soon again. Bye.